You still have a pending loan. We can't move forward. The notary said just as I was about to buy my first home. That's when I discovered my parents had taken out a loan in my name years ago. Imagine standing on the precipice of your biggest dream, buying your first home, only for it to be snatched away, not by a bad market or an unexpected cost, but by a chilling revelation. Your own parents had secretly taken out a massive loan in your name, then ghosted the payments. That's exactly what happened to me, and trust me, it was time to make them pay. The pen was in my hand. It should have been the proudest moment of my life. I'd even dressed up for it. Thrifted slacks, stiff from the dry cleaner, and a button-up shirt I only wore when I wanted to feel like someone who had finally arrived. I was about to buy my first home. Nothing fancy. 2 beds, 1.5 baths, laminate floors, and a backyard with a cracked bird bath and a fence leaning like it had a secret. But it was mine. My name on the deed, my hands on the key. No roommates, no landlords, no parents. That last part, that was important. My parents used to say things like, "We don't do savings. We do faith." Which, translated, meant, we do debt, denial, and guilt-flavored manipulation. Credit card bills were ignored until they screamed. Utilities were in my name by the time I was 17. And when I finally asked why they'd done that, my mom just said, "We needed it. You know how hard it is raising 3 kids, right?" Because apparently my social security number came with a gift basket and a credit limit. That's when I decided to become the exact opposite of them. I cut ties at 18. I rented rooms. I ate canned beans and microwaved rice for 2 years. I took every underpaid gig that didn't feel illegal. And every time I made a payment on time, every time I said no to something I couldn't afford, I told myself, this is the road out. This house, this little broken bungalow, was my exit ramp. So when the notary paused, her pen hovering, and said, "Oh, hang on," I didn't even flinch. I thought it was just paperwork. Maybe I forgot to initial something. But then she looked up, confused. There's a discrepancy. The air in the room changed. The realtor, a woman named Jenna with 2 white teeth, leaned forward. "What kind of discrepancy?" The notary clicked on something. "It says here there's a personal loan in Cam's name. $42,870. Open since 2019, reporting delinquent status last year, but currently in good standing." My ears started ringing. I blinked. I don't have a loan. The mortgage officer glanced at me, then at his screen. "It's showing up on the soft pull we did this morning. Valley Pacific Lending. It's impacting your debt-to-income ratio. We can't close with this on record." I felt my stomach twist. They turned the monitor so I could see it. My name, my social, the balance, monthly payments. 2 missed in 2020. Then, consistent payments from an address I hadn't lived at since college, my parents' house. My chest went cold. Everyone was watching me now. I forced a smile I didn't feel. "That's not mine. I have never applied for that." "Could be fraud," Jenna said gently, with sympathy in her eyes that made me feel like a child in trouble. "You should definitely freeze your credit." I nodded, mute. "We can reschedule, sort it out, and we'll resubmit the application," the mortgage guy said, but I barely heard him. I was already halfway out the door, calling the credit bureau, sweating through my shirt, trying not to panic. But deep down I knew. I knew what kind of people my parents were. I knew how they smiled through lies. I knew the way my mom always said, "It's just paperwork," and how my dad used to say, "We're all family. It's not like it matters." It mattered now, because someone, likely someone I used to call family, had taken a loan in my name, using my social, my credit, and my life. And I didn't even know it existed until it destroyed the one thing I had worked my entire adult life to build. I spent the next 2 hours in the library parking lot, on the phone with every credit bureau I could think of. My laptop overheating on my passenger seat. I hadn't been able to go home. I couldn't face those walls. Not yet. The woman from Experian was polite, calm. She asked the usual verification questions. Full name, date of birth, last 4 digits of your social. And then she asked, "Did you take out a loan through Valley Pacific Lending in July of 2019? "No," I said flatly. "That's what I'm trying to tell you." Another pause. Then, Well, it was approved using your full information. Application was submitted online. Address matches 1735 Pinehurst Avenue. My throat clenched. That was my parents' house. I hadn't lived there since 2016. Can you tell who signed for it? There's an e-signature. IP traced to the Pinehurst address. An email listed as camwilsonfamily@gmail.com. Is that yours? No, I whispered. There it was. A smoking gun in a Gmail handle. I thanked her, got off the call, and sat still long enough for my coffee to go cold beside me. Cam Wilson Family. I remembered my mom saying once, I made that email for you, just in case you needed a backup. I thought it was harmless, just a mom trying to stay involved, maybe a little overbearing. Now I realized what it was, a foundation, a tool, a digital mask. The loan was not just some accident. It was an orchestrated con, and whoever did it had paid it quietly enough to stay under the radar until now. It wasn't rage that came first. It was grief. This wasn't a stranger who stole from me. This was the woman who used to pack me peanut butter sandwiches with heart-shaped notes. This was the man who taught me to ride a bike badly and said, "You'll thank me later when I fell." Now here I was, 28 years old, sitting in my parked car with a mountain of broken trust in my hands. I stared at my phone, then dialed. It rang 5 times before she picked up. "Hey, sweetheart," my mom said, voice warm like, "Honey, I was just thinking about you." Just thinking about me. Of course she was. I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Hey, Mom, can I ask you something weird?" "Sure," she said lightly. "What's up?" "There's a loan in my name. Opened in 2019 through a company called Valley Pacific. Do you know anything about that?" There was a pause, a sharp one, like the air sucked out of her end of the call. "Oh, that," she said, too quickly. No, of course not. We wouldn't. I mean, that's ridiculous. Are you sure it's not a mistake?" My jaw tightened. I kept my voice casual. "Well, the application was submitted from your address, and the email used was that cam.wilson.family1. Remember that one you made?" Another pause, longer this time. I mean, she laughed nervously. "I did create that years ago, but I didn't use it for anything. Maybe you signed up for something and forgot." "No," I said. Quiet, direct. "I did not." She exhaled into the phone. "Cam, honey, is this really that big a deal? You're doing so well now. You always said you wanted to help the family if you ever could, and it's not like we missed payments." That was it. The slip. She had just admitted it. I hadn't told her anything about payments. I didn't even speak. Just listened to her realize what she'd said. Heard the panic start to fill the silence. "Cam, wait. I didn't mean it like..." I hung up. The phone slipped from my hand and landed on the passenger seat. I stared at my windshield like the answer was somewhere out there. Like maybe if I squinted hard enough, I could see a version of myself that hadn't just been gutted by the people who claimed to love me. The rage was starting to come now, but it wasn't loud. It was quiet, strategic, focused. They thought I'd do what I always did. Sigh, forgive, and move on. But they had taken something that didn't belong to them. And this time, I wasn't going to let it go. You'd think betrayal comes like thunder. Loud, sudden, violent. But this wasn't thunder. This was a pattern. And now I could finally see it. I went home and didn't turn the lights on. Just dropped my keys, opened my laptop, and started digging like a man possessed. First stop, Gmail. That old backup email my mom once said she made in case college stuff bounced. I hadn't logged into it in years, but I knew the password, my childhood dog's name, and her birthday. Classic mom. And there it was. Valley Pacific Loan Confirmation _072019.pdf. PDF. Application approval. Disbursement. My name, my social, my parents' address, my mother's phone number listed under secondary contact. I took screenshots, downloaded the PDF, saved them to an encrypted drive I created for one purpose: revenge. Then I kept going. Receipts. Payment confirmations from her email to the loan portal. A recovery email linked to her main account. I traced the first payment back to a bank transfer that had a memo line. CW40, 2000 loan start. She didn't even try to hide it. The paper trail was clear. This was not a mistake. This was not a desperate one-time decision. It was strategy, built on the assumption that I would never notice, never check, never say no. And for a long time I didn't. I closed the laptop and sat in silence, heart pounding. Then, almost without thinking, I grabbed the file box under my bed, the one labeled tax stuff. But really, it was full of old bills, receipts, and the few documents I had kept from my past. Buried near the back was a yellow envelope. Inside, a Comcast account from when I was 16 for $186.13 overdue. I never opened that account. I remembered coming home from school and asking why the internet was in my name. My mom had smiled a soft, tired smile and said, "Oh, sweetheart, your credit's clean. Ours is not. You'll understand when you're older." And just like that, I was the family safety net at 16. That was the first time they stole from me, and I let them. I let them again when I co-signed my brother's car loan. He missed 3 payments and blamed the dealership. I paid it off to protect my score. I let them when my dad opened a retail credit card in my name and maxed it out to buy a new fridge because we needed it and you weren't using your limit anyway. Over the years, they told me it was survival, that we were a team, that families help each other. But what they really meant was, you help us and we never give it back. So when I emailed my lawyer, the one I used when I went freelance, I didn't hesitate. Subject: urgent, financial identity misuse by family. Attachment: proof.zip. He called me the next day. "Cam," he said, voice measured. "This is serious." "No kidding. You've got a clear case of identity fraud, especially with the IP, the emails, and the payment trail. And based on the way the account was maintained, we're looking at deliberate, long-term misuse. So, what do we do?" He paused. "That depends. Do you want to press charges?" I sat there for a long time. Part of me wanted to say no, wanted to stay the bigger person, that loyal, reasonable son who understands and forgives. But that version of me had died the moment I looked down at that fake Gmail address. "What if I don't press charges?" I said slowly, "But I want them to pay. Financially, publicly, legally, without jail time." Yet, he chuckled. "Then we build pressure. Quietly." I nodded. "Let's do that." As we talked through options, cease and desist letters, formal notifications of intent to sue, freezing all joint access points they might still have, a new part of me was being born. Not bitter, not broken, just done. They wanted a fallback. They wanted my credit, my future, my trust. Now they were going to feel what it meant to lose all of it. 2 days later, the certified envelope went out. Inside was a letter on official stationery from my lawyer, Daniel. A demand for repayment of the $42,870 loan taken out in my name, citing identity fraud and breach of personal trust. It included an itemized breakdown, screenshots of emails, IP trace reports, and a formal warning. If the debt was not paid back in full within 30 days, we would file a civil suit for damages, including emotional distress and loss of property, since their actions had cost me the house. It was the first time I had ever sent my parents something that required a signature. The next thing I did was freeze my credit. Every bureau, every lender, locked. I changed all my banking passwords, rerouted everything through new 2-factor authentication. I even got a new number, not to hide, but to control what came through. It felt weird taking these steps, like I was leaving a house I no longer lived in, but still needed to lock behind me. Then I went further. I combed through every possible joint. The Netflix account my mother was still logging into. The old savings account I had never closed. Even a car insurance policy I had apparently still been linked to as a household driver. Gone. Erased. Cancelled. Locked. I wasn't just cutting them off. I was making sure they could never do this to me again. But even as I was building walls, I couldn't help the old ache rising again. The ache of always being the responsible one, the fixer, the safe bet. They used to say, "Cam's the dependable one. Cam's solid." But what they meant was, Cam will clean up the mess. Cam will not say no. Cam will eat the cost and call it love. I remembered Christmas 2017 when Josh's DUI charges needed a lawyer. My dad had accidentally let it slip that I had some extra cash saved for my freelance gig. You don't even have a family to take care of, he had said. You're single, no kids. Your brother needs help. So I paid the retainer. $4,500. I didn't even get a thank you text. Now they were about to pay. I didn't want revenge. Not exactly. I wanted them to feel the inconvenience of fixing something they broke. I wanted them to explain to a bank officer why they had to take out a loan to cover someone else's name. I wanted them to sit at a kitchen table, staring at a bill they couldn't ignore, and know that the reason was me, that I sent it. Then came the voicemail. It was late, 11:30 p.m. I was lying in bed, listening to rain click against the windows when the notification popped up. Voicemail from Mom. I didn't want to listen, but I did. Her voice came through small. Not afraid. Not apologetic. Just tired. Performative. Cam, I got your letter. I don't even know what to say. I mean, yes. Okay, we made a mistake, but we're your parents. We raised you, fed you, gave you everything. And now you're threatening to sue us over what? Some loan you weren't even using. My jaw tightened. I just don't understand who you have become. This is not you. You used to care about family. What happened to that boy? She paused, sighed. I hope you come to your senses. We're not the bad guys here. We just needed help. You knew that. You always did. Click. That was it. No ownership. No remorse. Just manipulation, dressed in disappointment. I sat there, staring into the dark, and realized something. They had never seen me, only what I could give them. And that voicemail? That wasn't a cry for understanding. That was a dare. I didn't share the voicemail right away. I sat on it for 2 days, unsure if it was worth dragging anyone else into the mess. Then Emma texted. Emma, my cousin. Always the one who saw things clearly. Hey, got a weird call from Aunt Lisa. Said you were trying to destroy the family. You okay? I stared at the message. I hadn't spoken to Emma in months, but when we were kids, she once told me, your mom guilt trips like it's a sport. She wasn't wrong. I called her. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, said, mind if I send you something? A pause. Should I grab popcorn? Probably. I sent the voicemail. No edits, no commentary. She listened in silence. When it ended, she didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then she really said all that, like in one breath. She did. And she's mad I'm the one being cold. Yep. Jesus. She texted again later that night. Mom is fuming. She read the file. She's saying your mom is lying and dragging everyone else down with her. Also, holy crap, that Comcast bill from when you were 16. Jordan, my other cousin, messaged, bro, that car loan thing? I remember that. Your dad said, Cam's got it like it was no big deal. I'm sorry, man. And then from Aunt Mel, I believe you. I've seen this pattern for years. They did it to your grandfather, too. I just didn't know it went this far. The tide was shifting. My mom, realizing the ground was crumbling, tried again, this time with a group text, directly to me and my siblings. Mom, if you think airing dirty laundry makes you look good, think again. Family is about forgiveness. You are turning this into a war. And for what? A few dollars. I didn't reply, but I did send one thing. A screenshot of the loan disbursement confirmation. $42,870. And one line beneath it. It was not a few dollars to me. It was my life. Then I left the group chat. The envelope was thick and official looking, slid under my apartment door by the postman who always forgets to knock. Inside was a letter from Valley Bank, a courtesy notice that I had been listed as a financial stakeholder in a new home equity line of credit pending approval. Property address, 1735 Pinehurst Avenue, my parents' house. They were trying to borrow against the home value again. Only this time they had attached me to it as a silent co-owner, citing past contributions as rationale. I knew exactly what they meant. In 2015, I gave my parents $8,000 to help cover a down payment. Back when I still believed helping them meant something. I was 19 and naive and thought this is what family does. Now, they were using that contribution, when they never acknowledged again, to claim I was tied to the property so they could exploit my credit history again. I sent the letter straight to Daniel. He responded with 4 words: "We are freezing the asset." Within 72 hours, we had filed a temporary lien on the property, citing pending legal action tied to identity misuse and financial fraud. The bank backed off. The HELOC was denied. But I knew this was not the end. Not with people like my parents. They didn't believe in consequences, only optics. Which is why, 3 days later, I got a text from my brother, Josh. "Josh, hey man, we are all getting together Saturday. Mom wants to talk. Don't be dramatic. Just come." That word, dramatic. It always made my skin crawl. It was their way of minimizing anything real, anything that made them uncomfortable. I wasn't going to reply, but then I changed my mind. I will be there. Bring everyone. I have got something to show you all. Saturday came like a storm. They were already seated in the living room when I arrived, like it was some kind of intervention episode. My dad stood with his arms crossed. My mother sat with tissues in her lap, already sniffling. Josh leaned against the wall, trying to look neutral. Even Aunt Lisa was there, sipping iced tea like she didn't have 10 group chats full of gossip. "Cam," my mom started, voice trembling. "We're worried about you. This is not who you are." "No," I said calmly, unzipping my bag. "This is exactly who I am now." I handed each of them a manila folder. Inside was the truth packet, full version. Financial records, screenshots, identity verification reports, digital signatures, dates, names, loan statements, the Comcast bill from 2012, credit report notations, the letter from the HELOC, the lien filing, everything. "This is what you did," I said flatly. "This is not drama. This is documentation." My mom scanned the first page and started shaking her head. "Cam, this doesn't prove anything. This looks worse than it is." "You stole from me," I said. My voice didn't rise. It didn't have to. My dad finally spoke. "We didn't steal. We borrowed. You're acting like we're criminals." "No," I said. "Criminals face consequences. You haven't faced any yet." The room fell into silence. Josh cleared his throat. "Look, maybe things got messy, but airing this out like a lawsuit? Man, that is low." I turned to him. "You are in 3 of those documents, by the way. Car loan mispayments. The account you pretended was yours for 2 years? That is in there, too." He flinched. My mom leaned forward. "We're family. This cannot be solved with lawyers." "No," I said, "but it can be started with them." I stood, grabbed the last folder from my bag. "This is a summary of charges I will be filing if repayment is not made by next week. That includes the full loan damages, legal fees, and identity remediation costs. If you would like to resolve this privately, I am willing to negotiate. But if I do not hear from a mediator by Friday, the courts will." They stared at me like they didn't recognize the person standing in front of them. Maybe they didn't, because for the first time in my life I was not flinching. I was not shrinking. I was not making it easier. "I came here today not to fight," I said quietly. "I came here to deliver a message. You do not get to steal from me and still call it love." I walked out before they could respond. For once, I didn't stay behind to clean up the mess. Daniel called on a Wednesday, voice tense. "I just got a call from someone who says they know you." Emma gave them my number. "Who?" "She said her name is Brianna." My brother's ex? Or maybe XX? It was hard to tell. The one who used to nod politely at family dinners and who once whispered to me, "You know you don't belong here, right?" Like it was a compliment. "She wants to talk," Daniel said. "I think you will want to hear what she has to say." I met her the next day at a diner halfway between her new apartment and my side of town. She looked different, sharper, more tired, like someone who had seen too much, and finally stopped pretending it didn't matter. We skipped the pleasantries. "I didn't come to stir anything up," she said, hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug. "But I saw the folder. Emma showed me some of it. I thought you should know where that money went." I didn't breathe. She didn't wait. "Josh didn't just take out loans in your name. He used the Valley Pacific money." My jaw tightened. "You're saying the $42,870? "Yeah," she nodded. "That was not for your parents' bills. That was not a car. It was not a roof repair. I stared. She leaned in. That money paid off Josh's gambling debt. My stomach sank. What? She lowered her voice. There was this guy, Vincent. Private lender. Off the books. Jay owed him almost 50 grand by 2019. He was going to get hurt. Your mom found out and panicked. Your dad said they couldn't put anything else in their name. So they used yours. They took the loan, paid the guy off, and started making the monthly payments to cover their tracks. I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened. Nothing came out. I told Josh he needed to tell you, she said, and I quote, he will never find out. Cam doesn't ask questions. He just fixes it. I couldn't breathe. Not properly. I stood up and walked out the door without a word. Stood in the parking lot staring at the sky, like maybe it would fall down and end the story before I had to keep living in it. But it didn't. I called Daniel that night. We are adding Josh to the suit, I said. Already drafted, he replied. You want to move forward? I thought about it. Thought about the Christmas gifts I bought my brother, even after he wrecked my credit. The times I defended him when he failed classes, missed work, lied to girlfriends. All the times my parents called him complicated and me reliable. They knew what he did. They chose to protect him. And they chose to sacrifice me. Move forward, I said. The next day, the paperwork was filed. Full civil motion. Fraud, identity theft, emotional damages, malicious negligence. Josh got served at the auto shop where he worked part-time. My mother called that night. 10 times. I didn't pick up. Then she texted, Mom, I cannot believe you are doing this to your own brother. You are ruining his life. I stared at the message and I laughed. Then I replied, Me? You already ruined mine. I'm just cleaning up the debris. She didn't answer. That was fine. I didn't need her to. The court date was set for Friday. Josh had gone silent. My mother sent one more message. Mom, let us just fix this. We will pay some. We can set up a plan. You do not need to ruin everything. I stared at it. A year ago I might have answered. Might have even tried to negotiate. But some was not enough. A payment plan was not justice. I didn't want revenge. I wanted freedom. And freedom doesn't come cheap. Daniel had advised me. If they try to settle privately, don't respond. Let them feel the public pressure. So I didn't. Instead, the night before the hearing, I drove. The little bungalow I had almost bought hadn't sold. It sat quietly on its corner lot like a story that had almost been told. The for sale sign was sun-bleached now. The lemon tree out back was still drooping, but the porch light was on, and the curtains had changed. I asked the realtor if I could see it again. Just one more walk through. She said the seller was out of state and didn't mind. I walked the rooms barefoot. Empty echoes. I stood in the closet where I once imagined hanging my first press suit. I stood by the window where I imagined placing a desk. A small life, built cleanly, earned honestly. The last time I was here, I thought I lost something. Now I knew better. What I lost was not the house. It was the illusion that I was ever truly safe inside that family. That was gone. And good riddance. The next morning, I wore black to court. Not for theatrics. For peace. I didn't look at my parents when we passed in the hall. I didn't acknowledge Josh when he glared like a kid caught stealing from the cookie jar. The hearing was procedural. The judge reviewed the evidence, the timeline, the verification. Daniel did most of the talking. I sat quietly, hands folded, while my entire history played out in cold, bureaucratic language. When it was over, the judge approved the motion. The family was ordered to repay the full loan plus interest, plus $12,000 in damages. Josh was individually liable for an additional fraud charge pending civil penalties. My credit record would be expunged of all related incidents. A formal record would be kept for future protection. It was done. I didn't stay to watch them leave. But later that week, I got a letter, handwritten from my father. The envelope was thick, and the penmanship familiar. Inside, 2 pages. No apology. Not really. Just lines like, I didn't know what else to do. We thought you would be okay. You're always okay. We never expected you to turn against us like this. But I guess you're not our Cam anymore. At the bottom, he had written you one. Hope it was worth it. I folded the letter, slowly set it down, smiled. Then I grabbed an envelope, wrote a reply, and mailed it back to Pinehurst Avenue. Inside was a single printed photo. Me, standing in front of the bungalow. The sold sign behind me. A small note at the bottom. It was .so. That's how I finally untangled myself from a lifetime of family manipulation. It was brutal, honestly, but I wouldn't change a thing. I'm curious, if you found out your family did something like this, would you press charges? Or would you try to find a way to forgive? Let me know what you think in the comments. I read everyone,